The curtain has risen, and at long last, Chainsaw Man Episode 1 has aired. It feels like we've spent the past few years just really talking about, the anime and kind of like how it's gonna be, what's it gonna look like, waiting for trailers, all sorts of things. And it's crazy that that period is over. And the anime is finally here. And as someone that has read the manga, and I am a big fan of the manga, this first episode adaptation is worth the wait. It was definitely worth the wait. It looks beautiful. If you have not watched this first episode, all I'm going to say is you really should. It really is a good first episode, and you can just see the attention to detail, the care and the love that has been put into this project if you just look at the opening. The opening alone, I think, speaks so much volumes just about the love and attention to detail to Chainsaw Man. There's a lot of little details throughout this, opening sequence, just like this opening song. If you, really take a moment and you look through it, you'll start seeing things that really stand out, and especially for those that are manga readers. But if you're an anime only, it's technically left up in the air and you don't even notice it. And I really love this. And when I also look at this opening song, it perfectly encompasses what Chainsaw Man is. Chaos. It's something I've always said when I have talked about the series and what it really embodies in its entirety. It's chaos. And I feel like anyone that, sat down, watched this episode, and you came to this video to watch, probably will agree with that statement. If you're an anime only, you might not still fully see the extent of that, but I think you can definitely say there is a lot going on within this show. There is a lot going on with the characters, to some mysteries with some characters, to the character that's obviously become very iconic at the end here, Makima. I know everybody's at least heard her name at this point, because there's so much fan art of her out there, you can't get away from it. So the point is that I feel like anyone that's also an anime only is going to probably pick up on a few things. The little things that are key indicators or signs that are incredibly suspicious. And I'm going to do my best to keep this anime only as possible. I'm not going to be spoiling. I'm not going to be talking about future plot points. I'm not doing none of that. I am keeping it to the information that is provided within the episode, breaking it down, and also talking about maybe just the episodes of in the previous episodes, etc. That's all I'm really going to do. So let's get into the opening. Not the opening song, but the actual opening sequence. This opening shot really sets the tone in the world of Chainsaw Man. And I forgot just how grim and dark the first chapter of Chainsaw Man was until I watched this episode, and I went back and looked at the chapter 1, and I was like, holy crap, it really was, depressing. And the first, I think, opinion many are gonna get when they see Denji, or MC's, life, they're gonna pity him. They're going to feel sad for him for a variety of reasons. I mean, he literally, right at the start, he doesn't have this traditional, great goal or objective he wants to accomplish. He's not even technically getting bullied. He just has a very unfortunate circumstance, and you can just pity him for his life. He doesn't have anyone, and he doesn't realize that he doesn't really have anyone. He kind of hints at it, and I'll talk about that in a minute, but I really just like how the tone in the world is really just set up so perfectly with the beginning of this episode. And when you get a little bit more into Denji's life, his money situation, to just how he's being used by, the Yakuza, to just how he met by, Puchito, which was kind of like a light in his life despite him always having darkness, it's a very interesting little direction that the story takes, especially at this moment, with seeing just how these two individuals met. Because what this episode tries to paint is that devils in this series are evil. That's 100% what the series tries to paint. We see right at the beginning, Denji fights a tomato devil. We see at the end, he's fighting a zombie devil. And it's clear that there is individuals within this world, which was even said, they're called devil hunters. They hunt devils. So when you think about it like that, it seems like every devil is probably an enemy and needs to be hunted down. So the question you start to gravitate towards is, what makes Pochita, this chainsaw-looking dog, so different? Is it really because Denji saved him, and that's why he's just so radically different? Or was the individual devil always like this? Or is there a lot of devils out there that is like Pochita? Those are the questions you start to gain while watching the episode. And like I said, I love the presentation of the world. It is a very, very strong aspect, and I think the color palette perfectly captures that vibe, that theme that the series is trying to present. What I mean by that is these gloomy tones. Like, there's one thing reading a manga. When you're reading a manga, you can obviously see some gloom and doom and all that here and there, but it's very hard to depict some of the colors that you could probably imagine for a given scene if it's not colored. And anime brings things to life. I've always talked about this. Anime really can bring a scene to life, and when you see this scene, it captures so much. It captures just the darkness of the world that Denji's in, but Pochita, as you can see here, is just, entered into his life, and there's a small ray of light that has entered into his life that he has. But in the backside behind him, in his past, you see a gravestone, which is obviously of his family member. And so you see these dark, grim tones here, but there is some vagueness of happiness. And this is, I think, just this image alone is a perfect embodiment of what Chainsaw Man is. I love that. I really think that they got this episode correct in terms of what the tone is. Now, let's talk about a few things, okay? Let's talk about Denji's character, and kind of what separates him from the classical shonen archetype, because I feel like many that have no idea what Chainsaw Man is about, okay? They don't know what to expect. They just knew it was Chainsaw Man. They know about probably Makima. That's about it. They probably had no idea what to expect. And when you see Denji's character, there's some individuals that might not like his character, but then there's also some that might like his character. And I feel like it's okay to have either or at this point in time with the beginning of the series. But if there is something I think everybody needs to key into and understand when it comes to Denji's character, is that he is very, very ignorant of the world around him. It's very clear that his worldview is very limited to just how his living situation is. Like, we literally see him, like, living in a shack and all that with, Pochita, and it kind of shows that he has barely anything. He doesn't, have a massive house. He doesn't really get to watch TV. He doesn't read comics. He doesn't play games. He doesn't even go out to drink or anything. He sits at home and he just waits and tries to not think about hunger until he gets his next job assignment that the Yakuza would give him. That's pretty much all he did. His life is very depressing. Very unfortunate. But at the same time, you can clearly see he isn't fully aware of just how bad his life is. He's not happy, so to say. Like, he isn't happy. He does mention that. He wishes he could, pay off his debt, be with a girl, have some good food or whatever. Some simple stuff like that. And the grand scheme of things of the world, when you think about what he technically wanted, it's very normal, and it's not something that you would think would be, crazy. It's not necessarily, a crazy thing to strive for. It's not like an in-game goal of, I want to be a millionaire, or, I want to go to the moon, or something like that. Those type of extravagant goals. His goal is just to have a normal life, and I think that will instantly make people notice how different Chainsaw Man really is. It's not a series that is trying to have the old-fashioned, MC. It's very different. This is a very mature MC. This character is someone that is definitely for the older readers of Weekly Shonen Jump. Basically for the, young adults. Chainsaw Man is definitely different. It's a very distinct character and series. I really love Denji, and I think that, there's just so much to be said about his character, but I'm not going to dive too deep into it for obvious spoiler reasons, but I think that Denji is just, I'm going to say it, he's probably one of my favorite modern-day shonen protagonists. He is a great character, and there's nothing more I could really say besides that for the time being. Now, let's talk about a few other things. Let's talk about something that I think everybody is probably going to be talking about, which I guess blood is one thing. I mean, there is a lot of gore, a lot of violence in this episode, and I was pretty surprised. I'm not gonna lie, I was very surprised by just the amount of violence within this episode. It's kind of shocking. I know that they already said it would be uncensored, but it's still just shocking to see. I do feel like there is some slight censorship, but that is obviously to be expected. But man, oh man, I will say that they definitely kept the integrity of what Chainsaw Man is intact with some of these scenes. Now, speaking of these scenes, I guess it needs to be said, we need to talk about the CGI, because I feel like this is the big aspect people are going to gravitate towards on the negative side of the episode. There is definitely a lot of CGI in this episode. I'm not going to deny that. I think soon as we see the zombies and all that, you start to see a lot of CGI. Does it look ugly? No, it doesn't. The CGI looks good. Do you know it's CGI? Yeah, if you really take a look and you watch the movie, yeah, you know it's CGI. Is it bad? No. I think that it's not the best CGI I've ever seen, but I definitely say it's far above the worst I have seen. If anyone is complaining about the CGI for this episode, you really should take a look at X-Arm. I'm not even joking. You really should look at X-Arm. That CGI, that's something to puke about. But, anyways, I think the only concern I could have from this episode, I'm trying to be objective here, okay? The only concern anyone probably could have from this episode with the CGI is not the fact that it looks ugly or bad, good, whatever. The fact is there is CGI. Now, I know that movement and stuff can be very hard, especially for the chainsaws, for Chainsaw Man. That's a given, okay? I fully accept that it will be very difficult to animate that and to keep it looking like it's moving. And so, obviously, CGI is definitely useful in a lot of areas. There is no complaints from my end on that. But I do think, though, the fact that there was, like, zombies as CGI and a bunch of CGI in the first episode could, I'm not saying will, could lead to problems in the future, saying that there might be some production delays or they're behind in some areas. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not someone a part of the board. I'm not someone that's behind the scenes working on the show, obviously. But I know for a fact when it comes to first episodes, they're supposed to be the best looking. And this is not a bad looking first episode. It's actually one of the best first episodes I've seen all year long. I'm just saying about the CGI aspect. That is the only concern anyone could come to while watching this episode. But that's about it. Now, besides that, I guess one thing, though, I want to mention is just this brief little segment with Makima and Denji. I think that this segment, it's kind of hard to talk about without spoiling, but this segment's very interesting how basically if Denji wouldn't have agreed, he would have been executed as a devil. And he only had the option, if he wanted to live, is to basically live as a human being and work for Makima. It's a very unique scene, so to speak. And I'm just going to say that I will talk more about this entire first introductions later on down the road when more episodes come out. But for now, though, yeah, good. This is a good first episode. Legitimately a great first episode, and I'm happy with it. Yeah. Nothing more to say. So I guess I'll leave the video at that. Thank you so much for watching, and tell me your thoughts in the comments below how you felt about the first episode. Was it worth the hype, or was it overhyped? Was it underhyped? Do let me know in the comments below. With that, be safe, stay healthy, leave me a like if you enjoyed the video. Chibi out.